The crystal citadel rose from the planet's surface like a giant's dream made real. Its walls gleamed with light that seemed to come from within the stone itself. Ambassador Hanna pressed her face to the shuttle window as they approached the landing pad. After 3 months of travel through space, she was finally here. First time seeing it? Asked Captain Wu Jin from the seat beside her. He had been to the Citadel twice before, but never for something this important. Yes, Hanna replied. It's bigger than I thought it would be. The shuttle landed with a soft bump. Hanna gathered her papers and checked her uniform one last time. Today would decide if humans could join the Galactic Confederation. Today would decide if Earth would have a voice among the stars. They walked through halls that seemed to stretch forever. Alien beings moved past them with barely a glance. Some looked like walking crystals. Others glowed with their own light. A few had too many legs to count, but none of them looked at the humans with anything like respect. Remember, Wu Jin whispered as they reached the great doors. They think we're weak. They think we need machines for everything. Don't let them see that their words hurt you. The doors opened without any sound. The chamber beyond was huge. Hanna had seen pictures, but being here was different. The ceiling disappeared into shadows above. Seats for hundreds of aliens rose in circles around the center floor, and there, at the very middle, sat the obsidian throne. Hanna had read about the throne in every report about the Confederation. It was carved from a single piece of black stone that had fallen from space long ago. The seat was wide enough for 3 humans to sit side by side. It rose higher than Hanna's head. The stone was so dark it seemed to drink the light around it. The humans have arrived, announced a voice that sounded like breaking glass. Chancellor Morven stepped forward. His body was made of clear crystal with veins of blue light running through it. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, and his face had too many angles. When he moved, tiny chimes rang from somewhere inside him. We have read your request, Morven said. His voice echoed strangely in the big room. Earth wishes to join the Confederation as a full-member world? That is correct, Hanna replied. She kept her voice steady and strong. Other council members came forward. Bright Flame was a being of pure light that hurt to look at directly. The Kelethan representative looked like a giant ant that walked on 2 legs. There were others, each stranger than the last. We have studied your species, said Bright Flame. The light being's voice was like music, but not the kind that made you happy. You are interesting, but weak. Weak? Hanna asked. Yes, said the Kelethan with clicks and whistles that the translator turned into words. You cannot lift heavy things without machines. You cannot fly without ships. You cannot even move rocks without tools. Morven gestured toward a wall where screens showed images of humans working. Construction workers used cranes to lift steel beams. Farmers used tractors to plow fields. Even moving furniture required dollies and ramps. Look at this, Morven said with what might have been laughter. Your people need machines to do everything. You are tool-dependent. You have no natural strength at all. The screens changed to show other species. Forthak like Morven could reshape crystal with their minds. The Kelethans could lift 20 times their own weight. The Luminari could move objects with beams of light. In the Confederation, Morven continued, strength matters. Physical power determines your place in society. Those who can do great things with their bodies earn respect. Those who cannot, he paused and looked directly at Hanna, those who cannot become servants. Anger flashed in Hanna's chest, but she kept it hidden. Beside her, she felt Wu Jin tense up. The other human delegates, Dr. Jae-ho, Commander Yuri, and Engineer Dongwu stood quietly, but she could see their faces growing hard. Your application for membership has been reviewed, said another council member. This one looking like a tree with too many branches. The decision is unanimous. Humans lack the basic physical capabilities required for Confederation membership. You see this throne? Morven gestured toward the massive black seat. It has sat in this exact spot for 1,000 years. It weighs 3,000 kilograms. Even our strongest council members need help to move it. Your species could not budget with all your people working together. Some of the aliens in the watching seats made sounds that the translator called laughter. Others just stared at the humans like they were looking at insects. The throne represents the strength needed to lead, Bright Flame added. Only those who can move it may approach it. Your kind would need a fleet of machines just to make it rock slightly. Hanna looked at the throne again. It was huge, yes. Heavy, certainly. But it was just a rock, just stone that someone had carved into a chair. She had moved rocks before. Maybe not ones this big, but still. Furthermore, Morven continued, your people are fragile. Your bones break easily. Your muscles are weak. You get tired quickly. You are not built for a galaxy where strength matters. Then why did you agree to see us? Commander Yuri asked suddenly. Curiosity, replied the tree being. We wanted to see these famous humans for ourselves. The species that thinks it can join the Confederation without any natural gifts. More alien laughter filled the room. Some beings in the upper seats pointed at the humans and made comments to each other. Hanna felt her face getting hot, but she forced herself to stay calm. Your people have achieved some things, Morven admitted. You have built cities and ships, but always with tools, always with machines. You cannot do anything with just your bodies. That is not true, Hanna said quietly. No, Morven's crystal body rang like a bell as he moved closer. Then prove it. Show us one thing your species can do without tools. One display of natural strength. The chamber grew quiet. All eyes turned to Hanna. She could feel hundreds of alien gazes judging her, dismissing her, already deciding she would fail whatever test they gave. But then she remembered something, an old law that Dr. Jeho had found in his research of Confederation history. A rule that had not been used in a very long time. I invoke the right of strength challenge, Hanna said clearly. The silence that followed was so complete that Hanna could hear her own heartbeat. Morven's crystal form flickered as if he had been hit by lightning. Other council members made sounds of surprise in languages the translator could not handle. The strength challenge, Morven stammered. That law has not been used in over 200 years. But it still exists, Hanna replied. Any petitioner may demonstrate their worthiness through a feat of physical power. The law states that if the challenge is completed, the request must be reconsidered. Morven looked around at the other council members. They whispered and clicked and hummed at each other in their various languages. Finally, he turned back to Hanna. Very well, he said, and his voice now sounded like glass breaking slowly. The right of strength challenge is granted. But know this, human. When you fail, as you surely will, your species will be banned from ever requesting membership again. Hanna nodded. I understand. The challenge is simple, Morven announced to the entire chamber. You must move the obsidian throne from its current position to the marked circle 20 meters away. You may use only your natural strength. No tools, no machines, no help from others. The chamber erupted in sounds that might have been laughter or might have been something else entirely. Aliens began talking excitedly to each other. Some started making what looked like bets. Wu Jin leaned close to Hanna. Are you sure about this? Hanna looked at the throne again. 3,000 kilograms. That was more than 6,000 pounds. It was impossible. Everyone knew it was impossible. But as she stared at the black stone, she thought about something else. She thought about every human who had ever been told they were not strong enough. Every person who had been underestimated. Every time someone had said that something could not be done. We will see, she whispered back. Word spread through the crystal citadel faster than light through glass. Within an hour, the Grand Assembly Hall was packed with alien beings from every corner of the galaxy. They came to see something that had never happened before, a human attempting the impossible. Hanna stood in the center of the hall, looking up at hundreds of faces that belonged to dozens of different species. Some had come out of curiosity. Others wanted to see her fail. A few seemed genuinely interested in what might happen. This is madness, muttered Chancellor Morven to his aide, a smaller crystal being who chimed softly when nervous. The throne weighs 3,000 kilograms. Even our strongest Kelethan warriors need assistance to move it. The aide's chimes grew faster. Should we stop this? The human will be injured when she tries. No, Morven replied. Let her try. When she fails, it will prove once and for all that humans do not belong among us. But not everyone in the hall agreed with the Chancellor. Ambassador Kelra of the Zephyrians sat in the front row, her feathered form leaning forward with interest. The Zephyrians had always questioned the Confederation's focus on physical strength above all else. This should be interesting, Kelra said to her companion. I have read the reports about humans. They are more complex than they appear. Near the back of the hall, a group of young aliens whispered among themselves. They belonged to different species, but they all shared one thing. They were tired of the old ways. Tired of being judged only by how much they could lift or how fast they could run. Look at her, said a young Vorthak whose crystal body still showed the cloudy patterns of youth. "She does not look afraid." "She should be," replied a Kelethan barely past molting age. "The challenge has defeated beings twice her size." Down on the main floor, the human delegation gathered around Han-Na. Captain Wu-Jin checked his watch and frowned. "The formal challenge begins in 10 minutes. Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Han-Na nodded. She had spent the last hour studying the throne from every angle. It was definitely heavy, probably the heaviest single object she had ever tried to move. But it was not bolted down. It was not stuck to the floor. It was just sitting there. "Tell me about the floor," she said to Engineer Dongwu. Dongwu knelt and ran his hands over the crystal surface. Smooth but not slippery. Good friction. The material is some kind of compressed crystal, very hard but not impossible to scratch. And the throne itself? Dr. Jeho consulted his scanner readings. Dense black stone, probably volcanic glass that has been compressed over thousands of years. No internal structures, just solid rock. Very heavy, but balanced evenly. Commander Yuri stood with her arms crossed, watching the alien crowd. Half of them are betting on how long it takes you to give up. The other half are betting on whether you'll be injured in the first minute or the first 5 minutes. What about our chances? Han-Na asked. Honestly? Yuri shook her head. The math says it's impossible. 3,000 kilograms is more than any human has ever moved without mechanical help. Han-Na smiled. The math said flying was impossible too. And going to space. And a lot of other things we do now. A deep sound echoed through the hall, something like a gong made of crystal. Chancellor Morven stepped forward, his tall form glittering under the lights. "The challenge will now begin," he announced. "The human delegate has exactly 1 hour to move the obsidian throne from its current position to the marked circle 20 meters away." He gestured toward a circle of silver metal set into the floor. It gleamed against the crystal like a target. "The rules are simple," Morven continued. "Only natural strength may be used. No tools of any kind. No assistance from other beings. No mechanical aids. The throne must be moved entirely within the circle for the challenge to be considered complete." The alien crowd grew quiet. This was the moment they had all come to see. Han-Na walked slowly toward the throne. Each step echoed in the vast chamber. The black stone seemed to absorb light, making it look like a hole in the world. As she got closer, its size became even more impressive. The seat was easily 6 feet wide and just as deep. The back rose nearly 8 feet high. The arms were thick enough that she could barely wrap her hands around them. She placed both palms against the back of the throne and pushed gently, just to test it. The stone did not move at all. It might as well have been part of the planet itself. "Impossible," whispered Bright Flame from the council area. "The human is smaller than many of our children. How does she expect to move what our strongest cannot?" But Ambassador Kelra was watching more carefully. "Look at how she examines it. She is not just pushing randomly. She is thinking." Han-Na walked around the throne completely, running her hands over its surface. She found the places where the stone was smoothest, where her grip would be best. She looked at the angle between the throne and the target circle, planning the most direct path. "She's treating it like a puzzle," observed Dr. Jeho quietly. "That's because it is a puzzle," Han-Na replied. She knelt down and looked under the throne, checking how it sat on the floor. "Everything is a puzzle if you think about it the right way." The young aliens in the back leaned forward. They had never seen anyone approach the throne this way. Usually challengers just grabbed it and pulled with all their strength until they exhausted themselves. "What is she doing?" asked the young Vorthak. "I think," said a Luminari youth whose light was still dim with age, "she is figuring out how to win." Han-Na stood up and stepped back from the throne. She looked at it for a long moment, then at the target circle, then back at the throne. The alien crowd was getting restless. Some were making sounds of impatience. "Are you going to try or just stare at it?" called out a voice from the upper seats. Han-Na ignored the comment. Instead, she began to stretch. She rolled her shoulders and flexed her fingers. She bent her knees and tested her balance. She took several deep breaths, filling her lungs completely and then letting the air out slowly. "She is preparing her body," Kelra observed. "Like an athlete before competition." "Athletes need to be strong to compete," Morven replied dismissively. "What good is preparation when you lack the basic capability?" But Han-Na was remembering something from long ago. She had been 8 years old, helping her grandmother move furniture in their small apartment. The old woman had taught her something important that day. Strength is not just about muscles, her grandmother had said. It is about knowing where to push, when to push, and why to push. A small person who knows these things can move what a big person who does not know them cannot. Hanna approached the throne again, but this time she moved with purpose. She positioned herself at the back corner of the massive seat, not directly behind it. She placed her hands carefully, one high and one low. She planted her feet wide apart and bent her knees. "What is she doing?" the crystal aide whispered to Morven. I am not sure," the Chancellor admitted. Hanna took one more deep breath. She thought about Earth, about all the humans who would be affected by what happened here. She thought about her brother Minho, who had died defending a colony on the frontier. She thought about every person who had ever been told they were not good enough. Then she began to push. At first, nothing happened. The throne sat as still as it had for 1,000 years. The alien crowd began to murmur, some sounding disappointed that the show was over so quickly. But then, something impossible occurred. The throne moved. It was just a tiny shift, maybe a centimeter. But in the perfectly quiet hall, everyone heard the sound of stone scraping against crystal floor. The murmuring stopped instantly. Every alien in the chamber stared in shock. Did it just... stammered the crystal aide. Chancellor Morven's blue veins flickered rapidly. That is not possible. But Hanna was not done. She adjusted her position slightly and pushed again. This time the throne moved a full inch. The scraping sound was louder, more definite. Gasps echoed through the hall. Some aliens stood up in their seats to get a better view. Others activated recording devices, not believing what they were seeing. "She is actually moving it," breathed Ambassador Kelra. The young aliens in the back began to cheer quietly. For the first time in their lives, they were seeing someone challenge the old assumptions about strength and power. Hanna paused for a moment, breathing hard, but not exhausted. She looked at the throne, then at the target circle still 19 meters away. It was going to be a long hour. But for the first time since arriving at the Citadel, she smiled. The scraping sound filled the Grand Assembly Hall again as Hanna pushed the massive throne another few inches across the crystal floor. What had seemed impossible just minutes ago was actually happening. The obsidian throne, which had not moved in 1,000 years, was slowly sliding toward the target circle. Aliens throughout the chamber were standing now, trying to get a better view. Some held recording devices with shaking hands. Others just stared with their mouths open or whatever they had instead of mouths. "This cannot be happening," Chancellor Morven said to himself. His crystal body was flickering rapidly, the blue veins of light pulsing like a rapid heartbeat. Our calculations showed this was physically impossible for her species. Dr. Jeho was watching Hanna carefully, his medical scanner in hand. Her heart rate is elevated, but not dangerously so. Blood pressure is high but stable. She's working hard, but she's not pushing herself beyond her limits. "How is she doing it?" Captain Wu Jin asked quietly. Engineer Dongwu had been studying Hanna's technique from the beginning. "Look at her position. She's not trying to lift the throne or drag it straight back. She's using leverage and physics. Every push moves it at a slight angle, so gravity helps instead of fighting her. Like moving a refrigerator," Commander Yuri realized. "Exactly like moving a refrigerator," Dongwu agreed, "except this refrigerator weighs as much as 2 cars. Hanna paused to rest and adjust her grip. Sweat was starting to form on her forehead, but her breathing was still controlled. She looked back at the starting position, then forward at the target circle. She had moved the throne maybe 3 meters so far. 17 more to go. "Look at her technique," said Ambassador Kelra to the alien sitting next to her. "She is not just using brute force. There is intelligence in every movement." The Kelethan Council member clicked angrily. "Intelligence does not move 3,000 kilograms of stone." "No," Kelra replied. "But perhaps intelligence tells you how to move 3,000 kilograms of stone." In the upper seats, the young aliens were getting excited. The young Vorthak was practically glowing with enthusiasm. "She is proving that there are different kinds of strength." "The elders will not like this," warned the young Kelethan. "The elders do not like many things," replied a Luminari youth. "Maybe it is time for that to change." Hanna resumed pushing. She had found a rhythm now. Push, adjust position, push again, rest for a moment, then repeat. Each cycle moved the throne a little further. The scraping sound became almost musical as it echoed through the hall. But the effort was starting to show. Her face was getting red, and sweat was dripping onto the crystal floor. Her muscles were beginning to ache from the constant pressure. "She is slowing down," observed Bright Flame with satisfaction. "Soon she will exhaust herself and we can end this charade." "Don't count on it," said Commander Yuri loudly enough for nearby aliens to hear. "You clearly don't understand humans very well." "What is there to understand?" asked a tree-like council member. "They are weak and fragile. They are stubborn," Yuri replied. "Stubborn enough to keep trying when anyone with sense would give up." Han-Na reached the 5-meter mark. The throne was now noticeably out of its original position, sitting in what had been empty floor for centuries. Some of the older aliens were starting to look genuinely disturbed by this change. "The throne has been in that exact spot since before I was hatched," whispered one ancient Kelethan. "Seeing it move feels wrong." "Change often feels wrong," said a younger voice nearby. "That does not make it bad." The alien spectators were starting to divide into two groups. The older, more traditional ones wanted Han-Na to fail so that things could go back to normal. But the younger ones, and some who had always questioned the current system, were beginning to hope she might succeed. "Come on," whispered the young Vorthak. "You can do this." Han-Na paused again at the halfway point. 10 meters done, 10 meters to go. She was breathing harder now, and her hands were starting to shake slightly from the strain, but her eyes were still focused and determined. Dr. J. Ho stepped closer, concerned. "Han-Na, your body temperature is rising rapidly. Maybe you should take a longer rest." "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice was a little breathless. "Just need to pace myself." "The human is weakening," Morven announced to the hall. "Soon she will be forced to admit defeat." But instead of giving up, Han-Na did something unexpected. She stepped back from the throne and began talking to her fellow humans. "Tell me about home," she said. Captain Wujin looked confused. "What?" "Tell me about Earth. Remind me why we're here." Understanding dawned on Wujin's face. "We're here because Earth has 5 billion people who deserve a voice in the galaxy." "We're here," added Dr. J. Ho, "because human medicine could help alien species we haven't even met yet." "We're here," said Engineer Dongwu, "because human engineering could build things the galaxy has never seen." "We're here," finished Commander Yuri, "because humans never give up even when everyone tells us we should." Han-Na nodded and returned to the throne. But now there was something different about her posture. She looked stronger, more determined. "What was that about?" asked the crystal aide. "I think," said Ambassador Kelra slowly, "she was drawing strength from her purpose." Han-Na resumed pushing, and immediately it was clear that something had changed. The throne began moving faster than before. Her technique was smoother, more efficient. Instead of looking tired, she looked energized. "That is not possible," insisted Bright Flame. "She should be getting weaker, not stronger." But the throne continued its journey across the crystal floor. 12 meters, 13, 14. Each push brought it closer to the target circle. The alien crowd was getting louder now. Some were cheering for Han-Na, caught up in the excitement of watching someone achieve the impossible. Others were complaining that this went against everything they believed about strength and power. "This changes everything," said the young Vorthak to his friends. "If a human can move the throne, what does that say about all our assumptions?" "It says," replied the young luminary, "that maybe we have been thinking about strength all wrong." Chancellor Morven was starting to panic. If Han-Na succeeded, it would not just mean that humans could join the Confederation. It would mean that the entire social structure, based on physical strength above all else, might be questioned. "There must be some explanation," he muttered, "some trick or device we cannot see." But Dr. J. Ho overheard him. "Test her," he called out. "Test her blood, her genetics, scan her for any kind of enhancement. What you're seeing is pure human determination." "Determination does not move stone," Morven replied, "doesn't it?" asked Han-Na, pausing in her work. "Every building on Earth was moved into place by human determination. Every mountain we've tunneled through, every river we've bridged, every ocean we've crossed, all of it happened because humans decided it was possible." She resumed pushing. 15 meters, 16. The target circle was getting closer. "But this is different," protested the tree-like council member. "This is raw physical strength." "No," said Han-Na between pushes. "This is something much more important. This is refusing to accept that something cannot be done." 17 meters. 18. The alien crowd was on its feet now, most of them cheering despite themselves. Even some of the council members were leaning forward, caught up in the drama. She might actually do it, whispered Ambassador Kelra. But just as victory seemed within reach, Han-Na's strength finally began to fail. She had been pushing the massive throne for nearly 40 minutes, and her human body was reaching its limits. The throne stopped moving, still 2 meters from the target circle. Han-Na staggered, her vision blurring from exhaustion. Her legs felt like water, and her arms were screaming in pain. The alien crowd fell silent, many of them looking disappointed. "There," said Chancellor Morven with relief. "The human has reached her limit. The challenge has failed." But as Morvan prepared to declare the challenge over, something unexpected happened. Captain Wu Jin stepped forward and began to speak, his voice carrying clearly through the silent hall. "You want to know what makes humans dangerous?" he said. "It's not our tools. It's not our machines. It's that we don't know when to quit." His words seemed to give Han-Na new energy. She straightened up, wiped the sweat from her eyes, and looked at the throne again. 2 meters. "Just 2 more meters, she cannot continue," insisted Bright Flame. "Her body is clearly at its breaking point." "Her body, maybe," said Commander Yuri, "but not her spirit." Han-Na placed her hands on the throne one more time. But now she was not alone. The voices of her fellow humans filled the air, reminding her of every human achievement, every impossible thing that had been made possible through sheer determination. And in the alien crowd, other voices joined in. Young aliens who had never seen anyone challenge the old ways. Older aliens who remembered when they too had been told they were not strong enough. "Come on," shouted the young Vorthak. "You can do this. Finish it," called the young Kelethan. Even Ambassador Kelra was cheering now. "Show them that strength comes in many forms." With the support of voices both human and alien, Han-Na found reserves of strength she did not know she had. The throne began to move again, inch by inch, toward the silver circle that represented hope for all humanity. 1 meter to go. 1 meter. Just 1 meter separated the obsidian throne from the silver target circle. Han-Na stared at that final distance like it was the edge of the world. Her whole body was shaking from exhaustion. Her vision kept going blurry. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. But she could also hear something else. The voices of hundreds of aliens, many of them now cheering for her to succeed. What had started as a spectacle to watch a human fail had become something much bigger. It had become a moment when the entire galaxy might change. "Just 1 more meter," whispered Dr. Jeho, his medical scanner showing readings that made him worry. "Han-Na, your body is at its absolute limit." "I know," she gasped, barely able to speak. "But 1 meter. Might as well be 1 million. If I can't push anymore." Her legs were trembling so badly she could barely stand. Her arms felt like they were made of lead. Every muscle in her body was screaming for her to stop, to give up, to admit that some things really were impossible. Chancellor Morven stepped forward, his crystal form glittering with satisfaction. "Enough. The human has clearly reached her limit. The challenge has failed. The throne remains outside the target circle." "Wait," said Ambassador Kelra, rising from her seat. "The challenge is not over. She still has time remaining." Morven's blue veins flickered with annoyance. "Time means nothing if she lacks the strength to continue." "Then let us see," Kelra replied firmly. In the upper seats, the young aliens were pleading with Han-Na not to give up. The young Vorthak's crystal body was glowing brighter than usual with emotion. "You have come so far. Do not stop now." But Han-Na was not sure she could take another step, let alone move 3,000 kilograms of stone. She leaned against the throne, gasping for breath, trying to find some reserve of energy that might still exist somewhere inside her. That was when Captain Wu Jin did something that no one expected. He began to tell a story. "There was a woman named Sunja," he said, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "She lived through a war that tried to destroy her people. They took her from her home, forced her to work in terrible conditions, told her she was worthless." Han-Na looked up, recognizing the story. It was about her grandmother, but Sunja refused to believe she was worthless. Wu Jin continued. "When the war ended, she had nothing. No home, no family, no money. But she did not give up. She worked cleaning floors to earn enough money for food. She worked in factories to earn enough for shelter. She worked every day for 40 years to build a life for her children and grandchildren." "Why are you telling us this?" asked Bright Flame impatiently. "Because," said Wu Jin, "Sunja was Han-Na's grandmother. And Sunja taught her that strength is not about how much you can lift. It is about how much you can endure, how long you can keep going when everything tells you to stop. Hanna felt tears mixing with the sweat on her face. She remembered her grandmother's hands, rough and scarred from decades of hard work. She remembered the stories of surviving when survival seemed impossible. Commander Yuri picked up the story. There was a boy named Minho who joined the Colony Defense Force when he was barely 18. Everyone said he was too young, too small, too weak to be a soldier. Hanna's breath caught. Minho was her brother. But when raiders attacked the colony on Kepler 442, Minho stood his ground, Yuri continued. He held the main gate for 6 hours while civilians evacuated. He held it even when his weapon ran out of ammunition. He held it even when he was badly wounded. He held it until the last transport was safely away. Did he survive? Asked the young Kelethan quietly. No, Yuri said simply. But 3,000 civilians did. Because one small human decided that some things are worth fighting for, even when you cannot win. Hanna was sobbing now, but she was also standing straighter. The stories of her grandmother and brother filled her with something stronger than adrenaline, stronger than muscle. They filled her with purpose. Dr. Jeho spoke next. There was a scientist named Jung-Soo who spent 30 years trying to cure a disease that killed children. Everyone said it was impossible. The disease was too complex, too aggressive. But Jung-Soo kept working. He failed thousands of times. He was told to give up by his colleagues, his supervisors, even his own family. What happened? Asked Ambassador Kelra, though she seemed to already know. He found the cure, Dr. Jeho said. On his 10,000th attempt, he found the cure. Today, children all over Earth live healthy lives because one human refused to accept that failure was final. Engineer Dongwu was the last to speak. There was an engineer named Mi Young who designed the first faster-than-light engine. The physics said it was impossible. The math said it could not work. Every expert in the field said she was wasting her time. He paused and looked directly at the alien council members. Mi Young's engine is what brought us here today. It is what allows humans to travel between the stars. It exists because one person decided that impossible was just another problem to solve. The stories were having an effect on more than just Hanna. Throughout the hall, aliens were listening with growing amazement. They were hearing about a species that did not accept limits, that kept trying when trying seemed pointless. These are just stories, Chancellor Morven protested, but his voice lacked conviction. No, said Hanna, slowly straightening up. These are not just stories. They are the truth about humans. We do not stop because something is difficult. We do not quit because everyone says we should. We keep going because, she took a shaky breath, because someone has to. She placed her hands on the throne again, but this time her grip was steadier. My grandmother survived a war. My brother saved 3,000 people. Countless humans have done impossible things because they had to be done. The throne moved. Just an inch, but it moved. This throne is not my limit, Hanna continued, pushing again. It is just another obstacle. Just another thing that needs to be moved. Another inch. Then another. The alien crowd was completely silent now, watching something they had never seen before. Not just physical strength, but the strength of will made manifest. She is drawing energy from somewhere, whispered the crystal aide. But from where? From the same place her grandmother found it, said Kelra softly. From the same place her brother found it. From the belief that giving up is not an option. 6 inches from the target circle. 4 inches. 2 inches. Chancellor Morven was backing away from the throne as if it were dangerous. This should not be possible. The calculations, said Hanna between pushes, did not account for human stubbornness. One final push. The edge of the massive throne crossed into the silver circle, but Hanna was not done. With the last of her strength, she gave one more tremendous shove. The entire throne slid into the circle with a grinding crash that echoed through the hall like thunder. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The impossible had happened. Then the Grand Assembly Hall erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages. Some were cheering wildly. Others were arguing loudly about what this meant. A few were just sitting in stunned silence. Hanna collapsed to her knees beside the throne, gasping for breath. Her whole body felt like it was on fire, but she was smiling. Captain Wujin and the other humans rushed to support her. You did it! Wu Jin said, his voice full of amazement. You actually did it. We did it, Hanna corrected him. Your stories gave me strength. When I had none left, Dr. Jeho was already scanning her with his medical device, exhausted but stable. No permanent damage, though I recommend not moving any more thrones for a while. Hanna laughed weakly. I think this one will do. But the real impact was just beginning to be felt throughout the hall. Young aliens were celebrating openly. Older ones were questioning everything they thought they knew about strength and weakness. If a human can move the throne, said the young Vorthak to his friends, what does that say about everything we have been taught? It says, replied the young luminary, that we have a lot to learn. Chancellor Morven stood frozen in place, his crystal form flickering rapidly. The foundation of everything he believed had just been shaken by one small human and a very big rock. The challenge, he said slowly, has been completed. But Han-Na was not finished. Still kneeling beside the throne, she looked up at the alien council and spoke words that would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. We did not come here to prove we are strong. We came to prove that strength is not just about muscle. It is about determination. It is about cooperation. It is about the refusal to give up on those who depend on you. She struggled to her feet, supported by her fellow humans. That is what humans can offer the Confederation. Not the ability to lift heavy things, but the ability to keep trying when others cannot. The ability to find solutions when others see only problems. The ability to hope when hope seems foolish. The hall was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet. It was the quiet of minds changing, of old assumptions crumbling, of a new future beginning to take shape. The throne has been moved, Hanna concluded. Now let us see what else we can accomplish together. The aftermath of Hanna's impossible achievement hit the Galactic Confederation like a shockwave spreading across space. Within hours, news of the human who moved the obsidian throne was reaching every corner of the galaxy. Within days it would change everything, but first, there was the immediate chaos in the Grand Assembly Hall. Chancellor Morven stood staring at the throne in its new position, his crystal form flickering like a broken light. The throne that had not moved for 1,000 years now sat inside the silver circle, its black surface somehow looking different in its new home. Impossible, he whispered for the 100th time. 3,000 years of precedent. All our calculations. Everything we know about physics. Perhaps, said Ambassador Kelraw, rising gracefully from her seat. Your calculations failed to account for something your species has never possessed. Which is? Morven asked weakly. The refusal to accept limitations. The hall was still buzzing with excitement and confusion. Aliens were clustering in groups, talking rapidly in their various languages. Some were angry that the old order had been challenged. Others were excited about what might come next. Many were simply confused about what they had just witnessed. Near the back of the hall, the young aliens were celebrating openly. The young Vorthak was glowing so brightly with excitement that he was lighting up the whole section. Did you see that? He asked his friends over and over. Did you see what she did? We all saw it, replied the young Kelethan. But she was smiling despite her species' usual serious nature. The question is, what happens now? That was the question everyone was asking. For 3,000 years, the Confederation had been built on one simple principle. Physical strength determined your place in society. The strong ruled, the weak served. It was the natural order of things, but a human had just shattered that natural order with her bare hands. Dr. Jeho was still tending to Han-Na, who was sitting on the floor beside the throne, too exhausted to stand but too exhilarated to care. Her medical readings were slowly returning to normal, though she would probably be sore for weeks. The political implications are staggering, whispered Commander Yuri to Captain Wu Jin. Every species that was ever told they weren't strong enough is going to want a reassessment. She was right. Already representatives from smaller species were approaching the human delegation, asking questions about the challenge, about humanity, about what this might mean for them. How did your people develop such determination? Asked a delegate from the aquatic worlds, his translator making his words sound bubbly. We had to, replied Engineer Dongwu. Earth is not an easy planet. Earthquakes, storms, floods, volcanoes. Our world has been trying to kill us since we evolved. We learned to be stubborn because the alternative was extinction. But surely other species have faced hardships, said a representative of the Desert Coalition. Yes, agreed Dr. Jeho. But many species faced one type of challenge and adapted to it specifically. Humans faced every type of challenge at once. We had to become good at everything. Adapting, persisting, innovating. We had to become generalists. Chancellor Morven was listening to these conversations with growing alarm. If other species started questioning the strength-based hierarchy, the entire Confederation government might collapse. Order, he called out, his voice ringing like a cracked bell. Order in the assembly. The hall gradually quieted, but the energy of change was still crackling in the air. The challenge has been completed, Morven said reluctantly. The Terran delegate has satisfied the requirements of the strength challenge. However, his voice grew stronger. This does not automatically grant membership. The council must still deliberate. With respect, Chancellor, interrupted Ambassador Kelra. The ancient laws are quite clear. Completion of the strength challenge requires immediate reconsideration of any petition. No deliberation period is specified. Morven's crystal form cracked slightly. The laws are old. Perhaps they need updating for modern circumstances. Laws do not become invalid simply because their results are inconvenient, Kelra replied firmly. But the real challenge to Morven came from an unexpected source. Council member Bright Flame, the energy being who had been one of humanity's harshest critics, suddenly began to glow more intensely. I have been reconsidering, Bright Flame announced. What we witnessed today was not merely physical strength. It was something else entirely. What do you mean? Asked the tree-like council member. I mean that for 3,000 years we have defined strength as the ability to move heavy objects or destroy obstacles. But what if we have been wrong? What if true strength is the ability to continue when continuing seems impossible? Gasps echoed through the hall. A council member questioning the fundamental principles of Confederation society was almost unheard of. Furthermore, Bright Flame continued, I have been studying the human's technique. She did not simply apply brute force. She used intelligence, leverage, physics. She solved the problem rather than simply overpowering it. Solving problems is not strength, protested another council member. Is it not? Asked Bright Flame. Then how do you explain what we just witnessed? The debate that followed was unlike anything the Confederation had seen in centuries. Old council members argued for maintaining tradition. Younger ones pushed for change. Representatives from smaller species demanded their own reassessments. Through it all, Hanna sat quietly beside the moved throne, watching the galaxy begin to transform around her. Captain Wu Jin knelt beside her with a concerned expression. Are you all right? He asked. This is bigger than we expected, Hanna nodded slowly. Change is never easy, but sometimes it is necessary. Some of them are really angry, Wu Jin observed, watching a heated argument between crystalline beings in the council area. They are not angry at us, Hanna replied. They are angry at themselves. For 3,000 years, they have dismissed species that could have contributed to the galaxy. How many discoveries were lost? How many problems went unsolved? How many people suffered because the Confederation only valued one kind of strength? As if to prove her point, a small, fuzzy alien approached the human group hesitantly. She spoke in a voice so quiet that the translator could barely pick it up. Excuse me, she said. I am from the Moss worlds. We were denied membership 40 years ago because we are not physically strong, but we have been listening to your words about different kinds of strength. What kind of strength do your people have? Asked Dr. Jeho gently. We are very good at healing, the fuzzy alien replied. We can cure diseases that other species cannot. We can grow food in places where nothing else will live. But the council said these were not real strengths. Dr. Jeho's eyes widened. Your people are healers and agricultural specialists? The galaxy desperately needs those skills. Similar conversations were happening all over the hall. Species that had been rejected or ignored were learning that humans valued different kinds of contributions. Young aliens were questioning why their societies worked the way they did. The political revolution was spreading beyond the Crystal Citadel. News feeds across the galaxy were carrying the story of the human who moved the unmovable throne. Some governments were dismissing it as propaganda. Others were calling for investigations into their own membership policies. On the Calithan homeworld, young workers were asking why physical strength should matter more than intelligence or creativity. On Vorthak Prime, students were questioning whether their rigid crystal hierarchies made sense in a diverse galaxy. But the most immediate change was happening right in the Grand Assembly Hall. After hours of debate, Chancellor Morven was forced to call for a formal vote on humanity's membership application. All in favor of granting full Confederation membership to the species known as humans? He asked, his voice barely audible. The vote was closer than Hanna had hoped, but decisive enough to matter. Bright Flame voted yes, as did several other council members who had been moved by the day's events. Ambassador Kelra cast her vote with a satisfied smile. The motion passes, Morven announced with obvious reluctance. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Confederation. The hall erupted in cheers, though not everyone was celebrating. But Hanna barely heard the noise. She was thinking about Earth, about the 5 billion humans who would now have a voice among the stars. Captain Wu Jin helped her to her feet as the other human delegates gathered around. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it. This is just the beginning," Hanna replied. "Now we have to prove that we deserve this chance." 6 months later, the political transformation of the galaxy was well underway. The strength challenge had become a symbol of the need for change. Species that had been excluded from the Confederation were being reconsidered. Young aliens were pushing for reforms in their home governments. Hanna sat in her new office on the Citadel's diplomatic level, reviewing applications from species that wanted to follow humanity's example. The work was challenging but rewarding. Every day brought new opportunities to help the galaxy become more inclusive, more fair. The Obsidian Throne had been moved again, this time to become Hanna's official seat as the first human council member. The black stone still bore the scuff marks from that historic day, when one small human had refused to accept impossible as an answer.